Do you ever just see a game announcement and like you've thought of the idea before, but you kind of thought they would never do it, but also upon seeing it, you didn't realize how much you needed this to exist? That is Pokemon Pokopia. This is the most obvious type of game, the most obvious type of spin-off for the Pokemon Company to pursue, because they announced last week in the Nintendo Direct a Pokemon Animal Crossing Dragon Quest Builders style game where you play as a Ditto, you get Pokemon in your village, in your world that you're building, and it looks really interesting. Out of everything that was announced last week, I think this one took me by surprise the most, and the reaction to it, once again, just like everything in this Nintendo Direct, I feel like has been mixed, but also, in this case in particular, I feel like people are sleeping on just how big this game could be. I think there's a bit of a disconnect between like the core Nintendo audience that maybe watches the Nintendo Directs versus cozy gamers versus Pokemon fans especially, but this marriage of IP with genre is such a good idea. It is really just a recipe for success. So today we're talking about Pokemon Pokopia, everything we saw in the reveal trailer. We're going to talk about the release window, as that wasn't in the Direct, but actually we do have a release window for this game, which is sooner than you're probably expecting. Of course, if you are new here and you enjoy Pokemon coverage, but also Nintendo Switch 2 videos in general, I've been doing videos on everything that Nintendo showed in the Direct, so definitely like the video and subscribe for more. Let's get into it. All right, so like I said, I think most of the first-party games that were announced were either expected to show up there or at least in the near future. Like, I didn't think Mario Tennis would be there, but I thought that game must be coming soon. Same thing with, like, Fire Emblem. I was expecting Metroid Prime, of course, was already announced, Tomodachi Life. A lot of that stuff we expected. Pokemon Pokopia, however, we had heard rumors of a spin-off Pokemon game being in the Direct, but I didn't really know what type of game that would be. Especially since in the big Game Freak hack of last year, there was no reference to a game like this at all. This one somehow completely slipped through the cracks, at least in terms of what was released publicly. So to get a Pokemon game that is Dragon Quest Builders Animal Crossing hybrid, I think the ceiling for this game is really high. I think people are sleeping on it. That will depend on just if it hits right, if it has the right, kind of mechanics and features and longevity that the people that play Animal Crossing or a game like Dragon Quest Builders really enjoy, or, Fantasy Life, that kind of thing. So it could go either way. The ceiling for this could be very high. It could also flatline a little bit earlier than expected. But I think this marriage of IP and genre is just so smart. It feels like something they should have done a long time ago. I'm pretty sure I've even talked about a Pokemon Animal Crossing game in videos before, but I also kind of thought they would never do it because I've given up on Pokemon spinoffs being interesting, right? Every Pokemon spinoff we've gotten for the past like 5 years has been some mobile garbage, and I'm so tired of it. So I have like PTSD. When I hear rumors of a Pokemon spinoff, I'm like, okay, this is not going to be good. This is not going to be exciting. But we're actually getting a Switch 2 exclusive, like, console Pokemon game, Pokemon spinoff. That is something completely different from what we've seen before. And while this genre isn't something that I typically get too deep into, I really enjoyed Fantasy Life earlier this year. But, for like 15, 20 hours, it's not something I play all year round. That's not how I kind of play these cozy games. This to me feels like something that could explode if it hits at the right time, if it has, like I said, all those mechanics and, replay value for people to keep coming back. I feel like this could be really big, similar to what we saw with Fantasy Life earlier this year, where that game completely blew up pretty much out of nowhere. There was some excitement for it, but Level 5 wasn't marketing it, and then it came out, and then everybody was playing it. I think we could see a similar thing here, but of course on a bigger Pokemon scale, especially with the 30th anniversary coming up. I think they're going to push this game very hard next year, because listen, I know core gamers will look at this and be like, oh, this isn't what we want. We want a Pokemon Ranger. We want a mystery dungeon. This, I think, is checking a lot of the right boxes in that it is a cozy game where you invite cute Pokemon, or you have cute Pokemon come into your town or whatever, and they help you build. That is, I just feel like a very strong idea for this type of game. But if you haven't seen already, they showed this at the end of the trailer, and at first I didn't realize quite what that meant because I kept saying Pokemon Animal Crossing, Pokemon Animal Crossing. this is actually being done by the team that did Dragon Quest Builders 2, which I actually did play Dragon Quest Builders 2, and I think that game is awesome. A little bit long in the tooth in terms of, like, there's a lot of tutorial stuff, and then to unlock multiplayer, you know, you have to play a lot of that story mode to get there. But it seems like it's going to be done by that same team with assistance from Game Freak. Game Freak themselves are involved with this project, which is cool to see them taking on more spin-off work, although I don't really know how much that makes sense from, like, a business standpoint of, like, okay, you're Game Freak, just make the damn mainline game. Let the spin-offs be handled by other developers, but that's fine. Game Freak, Koei Tecmo collaboration. And basically, the entire premise of this game is you play as a Ditto who, I guess his trainer's dead. You know, they show this like dirty, muddy Pokédex, and Ditto's just sitting there, and he transforms into his trainer. He turns into like this little girl, and that's who you play as. You can play as a boy or a girl. They released images of like the boy version of Ditto on their website. Kind of weirded me out at first, you know, just like, I don't know, man. But mechanically, when you see how you actually, you know, water crops, plant trees, that kind of thing, it does make a lot of sense. So they show Ditto meeting Bulbasaur, and even, I like that the Pokemon can actually talk. It's not just noises. You can like have dialogue boxes pop up and everything. So these are characters, and hopefully they'll have like personality like they would in like a mystery dungeon game or something. But basically, you'll get a Bulbasaur in your garden or your town or whatever, and Ditto will get the idea for Vine Whip, and then you can start planting these patches of grass using leafage, and that's how the game is. You're using Ditto's transformation ability, and you're getting all of these different mechanics through learning from other Pokemon, and then you're building your little village this way. Now, what they show in the trailer, at first it seems a little limited. It's just this one little area. I'm very curious how big this game actually is, because Dragon Quest Builders is huge. Like, it's not just one town, it's not just one island like an Animal Crossing or something. It's an open world game. I don't know if that's going to be here, but also it's a Pokemon game. You're already learning all of these different abilities from the other Pokemon. Who's to say you can't use leafage, for example, as an attack against like wild Pokemon or something? I don't know if that's what they're going for here, because everything they do show is very contained to this one area. But I don't know, actually, because now that I'm analyzing the trailer a little bit further, they show this like beach area. Maybe you just get a different seed when you spawn in or something, but you have to imagine you can like explore the world and get some sort of resources to bring back to your base and make it look even cooler. So we'll see how big the map is. I don't know. It's kind of interesting. I wonder if there will be combat in this game. I feel like there maybe almost has to be, based on the fact that it is a Pokemon game. Also, in one shot, you can see a Pokemon Center was built in this town, so I guess you would need to heal. So I don't know if you have like a party of Pokemon that come with you. Maybe it has like some mystery dungeon light elements or something. But at the end of the trailer, they quickly flash over a bunch of different scenes of different Pokemon that you can get in there. I love that at the start of the trailer, I was like, oh no, it's just going to be Gen 1 for the 30th anniversary, because they're showing the Kanto starters. They're showing Hitmonchan and Scyther and all these other Gen 1 Pokemon. But then you see a Drillbur, and I'm like, okay, good. We're in the clear. And then they start showing even more. Timber is in there, as well as Castform and a bunch of others, even Palmot from Scarlet and Violet. So it seems like there's a huge variety of Pokemon. I wonder, like, let's say you have Vaporeon and a Azurill here. Will they give you different abilities for crafting and stuff, or will it be like the same like water gun to water your crops? I'm not sure how they'll handle that. So we'll see how many Pokemon are in this. It seems to be a pretty good variety of generations and a pretty good number of them. I love at this end shot here, you can see a Snorlax is blocking a pathway. I wonder if the Ditto put that there. Like, can you control, like, okay, I want to have this like reference to Gen 1. Can I put the Snorlax here? Or is that something you'll have to solve later, get a flute or something? You can even see Tyranitar at the very end, at the top of the screen. So there seems to be a good variety of Pokemon. I'm excited to see what life beyond just your little hub home area will look like. And of course, as you would hope for a game like this, there is multiplayer. Now, I believe I saw Sarah be confirmed it is 1 to 4 players. I think that's really cool. I wonder if you'll be able to have a shared world where you both have your home in this world. I think that would be ideal, but we'll see and hopefully learn more in the future about like what the online connectivity is. But if this has like a really robust online system where you can live together, but also maybe you're going to dungeons and doing some sort of combat for resources like a Fantasy Life, I don't know, man. I think this game could actually be something special. Even though I don't typically play cozy games like this for too long, I could see myself putting a solid amount of time into Pokemon Pokopia. There were a few other things I wanted to discuss. So first things first, it is a Switch 2 exclusive. Now, frankly, You would not get that from watching the trailer. This game looks like a Switch 1 game. It is running very well, so we will give them that. But it looks graphically like a Switch 1 game. It looks pretty basic in terms of graphics, I would say, just, you know, running at a consistent frame rate. This is one that's, I wonder if maybe it was going to come to Switch 1, and then they were like, no, let's just make it exclusive, make it a selling point for our console next year, because, I don't know, it just seems a little weird to me that this would be an exclusive. Especially because I'm pretty sure, aside from the Galaxy remasters and Tomodachi Life, which are Switch 1 games, this was the only Switch 2 game, at least that Nintendo showed, that is a 1080p trailer. Even on the YouTube, it's a 1080p trailer, so it feels like it might have been a Switch 1 game, and they were just like, let's make it a Switch 2 exclusive, which I think for the type of game it is, maybe a mistake, but maybe they were like, okay, let's have this be the Switch 2 exclusive cozy game, and then Tomodachi Life on Switch 1. I'm not sure, just kind of spitballing. A little weird that it's not on both, to be honest. And then we have the matter of the release window, so I didn't watch the Japanese Direct, but in that Direct, and then we later found out through the website and stuff, pre-orders are going up in November, but the game is releasing next spring. When I saw this in the America Direct, I was like, okay, it's just going to be like a later second half 2026 release, but no, this is releasing early next year. I couldn't believe that when I saw it, because we already have so many games releasing next spring, including Tomodachi Life. We're getting two kind of similar cozy games from Nintendo in the first half of next year. I think I'll do a whole separate video on Nintendo's spring lineup next year, because the first half of 2026 is looking absolutely stacked. We already have, I think, 5 games confirmed for the first 6 months of the year, which has basically never happened at this point. We're still in September, and we already know so much about the first half of 2026. So yeah, I mean, I saw that and I was like, whoa, that is way sooner than I expected. So pre-orders going up in November, I believe. We should be getting a release date, I guess, around then. I don't know why they would put pre-orders up then and not now. So maybe we'll get some more information in November. Maybe a Pokemon Presents in November, to be honest, to show off that and the Legends EA DLC or something. But then I would expect more concrete information on this game on Pokemon Day next year in February. Maybe that's where we get the concrete release date and it comes out in like April or May or something. I don't know, man. That's sooner than I would have expected. I thought Tomodachi Life in spring, Pokopia in like, I don't know, September, October or something. But also, if we're getting Generation 10 next year, oh man, there's a lot of Pokemon for the 30th anniversary. So I don't know, I'm pretty excited for this. It was definitely an unexpected reveal. It's not a genre I typically put too much time into, but if they handle it properly, if the gameplay loop is there of having your village, building it up, going out, exploring, coming back and getting more Pokemon, like, I think this could be one of the bigger hits on the Switch 2 next year. Like, even if it's not like this crazy next-gen power-pushing Pokemon game, just the concept alone, I feel like people are sleeping on in terms of how successful it will be. You don't have to be excited for it, but I feel like this could be a pretty big deal. So let me know your thoughts on Pokemon Pokopia in the comments down below. Still getting used to that name, Pokemon Pokopia. Let me know if you were excited for this one down below. Of course, subscribe here for more Pokopia coverage and Nintendo Switch 2 videos in general. Follow me on Twitter at BoTalksGames, and until next time, folks, peace.